everyone, Tropical Jenks here. Thanks for tuning in. Just a quick one today. I wanted to go over the seamstress tag. Everyone else seems to be jumping on board. Holly put it up, I think, a couple of months ago now, or it could be longer, I'm not sure. But I just love seeing everyone online getting into all the creative stuff and sharing, and it's really inspiring. Anyway, I thought I'd go through the questions with you in case anyone was interested. Who are you? Is the first question. So my name's Chris Jenkins. I live in tropical North Queensland in Australia, and I operate a company called the Resume Company. So I help people with job applications and resume writing, and I've been doing that for the past 16 years, and it's very rewarding helping people achieve their dreams. And two, when and why did you start sewing? Well, I can't remember starting to sew, so I would have been around 5 or 7 years old, something like that. I remember doing embroidery and basic sewing at school, and I can remember being taught how to backstitch and do a bit of embroidery and things like that. So I was very young when I started sewing, and then I progressed through making bags, I guess, and library bags and all the usual things. I can remember taking my little sewing basket to school, and then once I hit high school, I'd already been dressmaking. My mother taught me how to sew. She was a machinist in the daytime, and then she used to sew her own clothes and some of our clothes, so she taught me how to dressmake. And then once I hit high school, I took home economics and did dressmaking, which at the time isn't like now, where it's more like fashion design. It was more like, we'd prefer it if you sewed a table and tablecloth and napkins or something. So the teachers were a bit shocked at the kind of things I could do by the time I was 14 or 15, I think. But I'd probably already been sewing for 7 years by then. And I've been sewing on and off since, so I have had breaks where I haven't sewn, or I've been travelling and haven't had a machine. But I've taken it up with a vengeance in the last few years. I realised that it's something I need to have in my life, and I just need it for the creativity and for my own well-being. So I've taken it up with a passion again, and it's the only thing I can think about. What's your favourite or proudest make? Probably proud of everything I make. I'm not very big on having favourites, but probably one of the most memorable was when I was living in London a long time ago, and my girlfriend and I learned that there was to be a ball held at the embassy, the Australian consulate in Paris. So we thought we would take ourselves over there for the weekend and go to this wonderful ball. We'd meet all these lovely, glamorous people and, do a bit of shopping and have a lovely time. And so I set about making myself this beautiful, strapless, crushed velvet, purple evening gown, which had boning, and it was just gorgeous. I loved making it. I learned all sorts of new skills to put it together. And we went over to Paris, and there's lots of other funny stories that go with it, but cut to the chase, we got to the ball, and I looked inside the room, and not only did they not even know we were coming, but when I looked inside the room, no one was wearing evening wear. So my girlfriend and I were all dolled up, ready for this wonderful night. Oh dear, I said to my girlfriend, nobody's dressed up. She said, I don't care, I would much rather be overdressed than underdressed, and we just sailed on in. But I still have that dress. Of course it doesn't fit me anymore, but you never know, I may just upgrade at one time. But I still have that dress, and I probably am proud of it. What's your most disastrous make? I made a dress, a vintage inspired dress with a button down front, and I was too lazy when I was marking out the pattern to mark the buttonholes on, and I thought, I'll do that at a later time. And when it came to do the buttonholes, I marked them in and I made the buttonholes, and then I ripped them open, and then I realised they were in the wrong place. I hadn't accounted for the turn back or something like that, and so they were too far to the left, which meant it didn't do it properly. And then because I'd already cut them, it took me a long while to figure out how to get around that. I thought of different things I could do, and I had quite a busy pattern on it, and I thought maybe I can just sew the buttonholes closed, but nothing worked. And then eventually I saw these little tiny daisies on a string at Spotlight, and so I brought those home and snipped them off individually and just sewed them on over the wrong buttonholes, and nobody's ever asked about them. So yeah, I don't think anything's a disaster. I think it's just not finished yet, or you haven't found a use for it. There's always something you can do to fix it. And often that's when you learn a lot too, it gets you thinking. Favourite place to go shopping, fabric shopping? Well, because I live in quite a regional area, there's only two main fabric stores, and they're the big chain stores, Spotlight and Lincraft. For a long time it was just Spotlight, and it was pretty woeful basically. Since Lincraft have moved into town, Spotlight have lifted their game a bit, and they do have some nicer fabrics. There isn't anything particularly flash up here. I look around online, and I do buy online occasionally, like Textile Traders or Remnant Warehouse, somewhere like that. It just depends what I'm looking for. But by far and away, the most fabric I buy is from op shops or thrift shops, and you can often pick up meters and meters of fabric there for $2 or $3, or I will upcycle old clothes as well. Yeah, if I could, I would much rather buy it there if I can. I have bought off individual people selling like vintage fabric, things like that, but yeah, that's the main places I shop. Your most used pattern? I'm terrible really. I will usually only make a dress once, and that's it, because of mainly with sewing, it's the engineering about it. It's how it goes together and figuring out how it goes together. That's what really gets me going. So once I've done it once, and it's like, oh, I've done that, I want to learn something new or do something new. But I have started making toiles to get a better fit. I did a course in pattern fitting last year, which was very helpful. And so I do have a toile of a skirt, and I've made 2 of those. So I'm on my way to reusing and rejigging patterns, but ones that fit. So probably my sloper is the one I'm going to use the most. Most dreaded sewing task. I really don't have a dreaded sewing task. For a while it was threading the overlocker, but I've overcome that with a few glasses of wine and a good stiff talking to myself and looking at the video that came with the overlocker and not the book, which was wrong. And I've done a course, so the course was very helpful. But no, I used to hate hand stitching, but I actually love that now. There's nothing there's nothing I don't like. I love it all. My favourite sewing task, probably, as I just mentioned, when it all comes together, when I figure it out. You know, you go through the pattern and you get to some areas where you're just not sure what they're talking about, or you go backwards and forwards and try it this way and try it that way, and then when it all comes together and you've managed to conquer all these different techniques and you end up with a wonderful garment, that's the most favourite part for me. What is your favourite sewing entertainment? I listen to podcasts. I listen to true crime podcasts at the moment. I will listen to Ajahn Brahm. He's a Buddhist teacher. I will listen to the radio, and I also listen to what's going on next door in the garage, because my partner is usually in there tinkering at the same time as I'm sewing. So sometimes that can be entertaining. A few choice words are going on, and lots of bashing and tinkering, but yeah, there's a number of things. Printed or PDF. I haven't printed, I haven't downloaded many PDF patterns, only very simple basic things, but I don't think I would have a problem with PDF. I have lots of printed patterns, store-bought patterns, because I just love them, especially vintage ones. And when I was a teenager, I used to buy Burda magazines, and if you haven't done those, they come with lots of patterns in the magazines, but they're all traced on about, I can't remember, 2 pieces of paper or something. There might be 20 patterns on there, so you have to very carefully stencil them out of the pieces of paper. So there's lots of lines going over and over and over each other. You have to figure out which one you're following and make sure it's right. So because I have that background, I don't really have a problem sticking pieces of paper together. So I don't mind either way, really. What sewing machine do you use? Well, I have a lot of machines, and so my partner keeps telling me, but I just love them all, and he has lots of tools, so I don't see anything wrong with that. I've just lashed out and bought my first really serious sewing machine. It's a Janome Skyline S7, and I just love it. I didn't realise how much more you get when you go up the line with a sewing machine. I thought it was more about sturdiness and speed and the number of fancy sewing stitches you get, but it's much more than that. It's the ability to place a needle exactly where you want it. It's the knee raiser, it's the extra lighting, it's the speed, it's so much more, a lot more you get for the money. It was $2,000, and I think it was on special, I think it was normally $3,000, but that's my first really decent machine in all this time, and so I'm loving it. But I do have 2 cheapies, an Elna and a Singer. Singer belonged to my partner, and I had the Elna, $100 each. They're good basic machines, they're absolutely fine, there's nothing wrong with them. I've sewn all sorts of things on them, from car seat covers to evening gowns. Prior to that, I had, and I've still got, a very old Empacel, which is, I think, from the 1960s, and I bought it second hand in the 1970s, late 1970s. So that is still going. There is something wrong with it, but I can get that fixed. But I did love that machine because it's very solid and very heavy, and while it doesn't have lots of fancy stitches, it's a good solid machine. And I still have my very first machine, which my mother bought me when I was very young. It's an old treadle machine, and she bought that because she had an industrial machine at home, and she didn't want me to be on that machine and sewing my fingers together, which I almost did on a few occasions when she wasn't home. But yes, I learned to sew on a treadle machine, and I just loved it. So, and that rocking motion is very soothing. It does work. I've given it a good thorough clean up in the last year, and it does operate, but I haven't actually sewn on it, so I may actually get another belt and sew on it. Do you have any other hobbies? Well, I'm one of those crazy craft addicts, and I knit and sew and crochet. I will do beadwork, I've done paper cutting, I've done just about everything you can do craft wise, although I'm sure there's some that I haven't done. It's always something to learn. So I'm just a bit of a craftaholic, basically. And I have lots of things and lots of plans, but at the moment sewing is my passion, and that's all I think about all day. So anyway, thanks for listening, and I hope that wasn't too long and not too boring, but please keep on sharing your makes and your ideas, and I just love watching all the sewing blogs and seeing what other people are up to, especially people who are new to sewing and they're just learning, and the men. I want to see men and young people, and I want it to be a lot more vibrant, and lots of different people to learn from. But thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you sometime soon.